Audio engineers and producers, let me tell you something. The Fletcher-Munson curve. The Fletcher-Munson curve, what is this guy talking about? The Fletcher-Munson curve is a chart that visually explains and represents how human beings hear certain frequencies at varying levels. Hopefully, simply put, we don't hear low-end and high-end frequencies the same as we do mid-frequencies, depending on the level of playback that they are presented to our ears. This represents frequency. This represents the level in which we hear that frequency. We don't hear 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 hertz the same as we do, this broad, beautiful mid-range, 1,000 all the way to like 6K. As we see here, there's a little bit of absence in the really, really upper range as well. Until you get higher up the listening playback volumes, when you kind of start to see things flatten out and you hear all frequencies a little bit more evenly. So what does this mean and how does it affect you as a mixer? Well, if we physically can't perceive low end at low volumes the same as we do at high volumes, if you're listening and you're mixing low and you hear a lot of low end, even at low volumes, because we technically can't hear low end the same at low volumes as we do at high volumes, that could be an indicator that you have way too much sub and too much low. Same thing with the high end. If you're listening to your mix really, really low and things sound really sizzly, that could be an indicator that you gotta kind of back off that high end a little bit, or rebalance your hi-hats, or shave off the high end on the synths or something like that. And this weird, boring kind of sciencey part of it is so important because it makes perfect sense. Because when you turn down your mix and you start to lose your bass notes based on the curve, we're not really supposed to hear low frequencies at low volumes anyway. So this is a perfect indicator that maybe when you can't hear bass notes at low volumes, you got to bring up the upper harmonics in that bass, maybe around the 120 to 500 hertz region. If you start bringing out the harmonics in that bass in this region, that's going to make those bass notes more audible, where you can actually hear it a little bit better at lower volumes rather than the sub frequencies. The Fletcher-Munson curve, baby. It makes sense. Everything makes sense once you understand the Fletcher-Munson curve. The Fletcher-Munson curve.